Hello there. Welcome to Just the Dis. Talk about Blu-rays here. And today we are talking about the new 4K UHD disc from Kino Lorber for Norman Jewison's film In the Heat of the Night from 1967. And this film is as powerful and as relevant as ever in my mind. And it's still one that, I had seen it, but I sort of had forgotten how great it is. Like, I knew it was good. I knew it was a landmark film, but man, it's good. It's just such a great movie. For those that don't know, it's very much of its time. It's very much, during the, big part of the civil rights era in the 1960s. There's a lot of stuff going on in terms of that area, and this film is really just hitting in a timely manner, and it's like I said, it just really holds up. The story is of a crime in a small town in Mississippi called Sparta. There's a murder. A man is found dead in the street by a local cop, played by Warren Oates. Great character actor Warren Oates, who's very good in this movie, even if not particularly likable. And as he's sort of wandering around the city trying to find potential suspects, he's checking out some places that his chief has told him to check out. He goes to the train station. He sees a character played by Sidney Poitier, and assuming that because he's a black man, apparently, he is guilty, and immediately unceremoniously arrests him and brings him down to the police station. Sidney Poitier plays the fantastic Virgil Tibbs, who, of course, we found out is a police officer from Philadelphia who happened to be trying to catch a 4 o'clock in the morning train and was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And so when Warren Oates brings him in to meet his chief, played by the great Rod Steiger, Steiger is, he's definitely of the type that's in this town, a racist character. But what I didn't remember is that he is a lot softer than I first thought. Like, I first thought he immediately was against the Virgil Tibbs character and had wanted nothing to do with him, and that's not totally true, because once he clears up that Virgil Tibbs is in fact a cop, he talks to his boss in Philadelphia, and the boss says that Virgil should offer his services as he's a murder expert to help out this local police force. Virgil says, well, they won't want my help, and it eventually turns out they do need it, desperately, in fact, because the character played by Rod Steiger is not too bright, and he's not a murder expert, and he really needs some assistance. And the scenes between Steiger and Sidney Poitier are just fantastic. They're just so electric, and Poitier does so much acting with his eyes. He has these fiery stares of contempt, rightful contempt and anger, and he says so much with his face without even speaking. Like, he doesn't barely talk for the beginning of the movie until he finally introduces himself and shows his badge, and it's just one of those things where you're like, oh my gosh, this is terrible, but it's great to see how Virgil is such a strong character and so willing to stand up for everything he believes in, and is not at all wanting to help out this local mess of a police force. But what seems like an simple crime, as Virgil examines the body, examines the evidence, he starts to figure out that it is much more complicated than he thought. And even he has his own prejudices about who did it, and those may or may not interfere with his judgment as to what actually happened. But he obviously knows what he's doing right out of the gate. And so you get a lot of, evil stares from a lot of town folk as Rod Steiger brings him into, the morgue and just different places and introduces him. And there's a incredible tension about the film throughout. You just feel that these, characters in this town are just not into having the Sidney Poitier, the Virgil Tibbs character around, and he equally is not interested in being there. But he is interested in doing what he does best, which is solving murders. And it's just such a delight to watch Poitier play this character and see him as he's figuring things out, and seeing the Steiger character sort of understanding just what a great resource he has, at his fingertips, and that he, is taking advantage of that. But he's also trying to protect Virgil because Virgil is maybe a little too gung-ho and a little not nervous enough about the fact that there's people in this town that would just as soon kill Virgil on sight. That's how bad it is in this area at this time. And it's just a wonderful film to watch unfold and to see the Steiger and Poitier characters play off each other. And, oh man, I just had forgotten how great it was, and just how tense and how powerful. And again, how relevant even now. So I truly love this rewatch. And it looks really great in this 4K UHD. It is shot by Haskell Wexler, who was, had some roots in documentary filmmaking and worked with Hal Ashby a lot. He famously shot Medium Cool at the Chicago Republican National Convention in the mid-'60s, with Robert Forster, and the camera work in that is beautiful, but it has an authenticity. It has a verite feel, and this film has that to a degree. Director Norman Jewison talked Walter Mirisch and the Mirisch Company into allowing him to shoot on location as opposed to being set-bound, and I think that really makes a big difference in terms of the film itself that we see, because it's all shot on locations, and there's a lot in the commentary track where Wexler is talking about the difficulties of lighting practical locations and all the tricks that he does, and it's just fascinating stuff. But I really liked how it looks. It's got a grainy look to it, but it feels, sort of real in this great way. And the 4K does great service to it. I really think it looks wonderful. It also stars, I'm trying to think here, Lee Grant plays the widow of the man who's killed, and basically the tension around the town that this woman is the widow of the man who's about to open a giant factory in this town and give a lot of jobs to all kinds of people. And she is proposing that basically once she's seen Virgil in action, she's like, I want him on the case, and if you don't put him on the case, I'm going to cancel the factory in this town because I don't think you guys have my husband's best interest at heart and what have you. So that's why Virgil is roped in partially by the mayor, played by William Schallert, who I remember from the Patty Duke Show and other stuff. But yeah, it's a great ensemble cast, and it is just an incredible movie. Like, really blew me away. So this has a lot of features here. It has audio commentary by Norman Jewison, Rod Steiger, Lee Grant, and Haskell Wexler, which is great. That is on the Criterion Blu-ray. There are some things on the Criterion Blu-ray you're not going to get here, but you do get quite a bit of it. I think the Turning Up the Heat, Making Movies in 1960 featurette that has Norman Jewison, it has John Singleton, it has a bunch of people talking about this film and the context in which it came out and how important it is. That's a great 20-minute thing. The Slap Heard Round the World is all about, there's a specific scene in the film where Sidney Poitier goes to question one of the very prominent racist rich guys in this town and gets slapped by him, and Poitier slaps him right back. And it's this thing where everyone in town is, including the sheriff, Rod Steiger's character, is like, we got to get you out of town. This is a big deal that you did that. That doesn't happen in this town. But it's such a powerful moment in the movie. Anyway, that featurette is talking about that. Quincy Jones, of course, did the music, so you get to hear, get to see this featurette on the sound. I believe all those featurettes are on the Criterion. There's an additional commentary, if I recall. It's not. I don't have that one handy, but there's a few things you won't get on that. But what you do get, that's really neat, is you get this additional disc, which has not only those features, but it also has two other movies. The two other Virgil Tibbs movies. They Call Me Mr. Tibbs from, I believe, 1970, and The Organization from 1971, if I recall. And I feel like a lot of people haven't seen those films. Um, They Call Me Mr. Tibbs, directed by Gordon Douglas. This is Tibbs now is a lieutenant in San Francisco with the cops there. He's assigned to investigate the murder of a prostitute, and the prime suspect is a local street preacher. And Tibbs is tracking things down and trying to figure things out. It's another film that really does show what an incredible detective Virgil Tibbs is, and I really like. I love Portier as this character. I think he's wonderful as this character. Martin Landau plays the Reverend. This movie has Anthony Zerbe, Ed Asner, Jeff Corey. It's got a nice supporting cast. Quincy Jones on the music again. It is solid and very enjoyable if you haven't seen that one. In addition to that, you get The Organization, which is the second follow-up film from 1971, also with Poitier as Detective Virgil Tibbs. In this case, he's still in San Francisco, and there's been there's a headquarters of a company, and one of the executives been murdered, and a security guard has been killed by blunt trauma, but it's not a simple robbery, and the executive was killed by shots from 2 different guns. Nothing was stolen. There are several other unexplained things, and Virgil is contacted by the group to sort of figure things out. There's a group of urban revolutionaries, again, sort of its time kind of film, maybe the least of the 3, but still I think very interesting. And again, Poitier at the center is just fantastic, I think. And also has Sherry North, Raul Julia, Ron O'Neill. So that's an enjoyable one as well. So you get all those, and I will say that you may be concerned about bitrate when you have 2 features and you have a more special features on one disc. I didn't see too much in the way of artifacting. I thought that they looked good, for all being on one disc. I thought it looked nice. So for what that's worth. So I do think it's great that you get just a really wonderful special edition package of all 3 of those films together here with those features. The additional commentary you get is from film historian Steve Mitchell and Nathaniel Thompson with Robert Mirisch, son, I believe, of Walter Mirisch, who can speak to the production side of things. And, that's another inside track. So that's great. But overall, a really nice release and a good-looking 4K. I love that Kino's continuing to do these excellent 4Ks. And this one just was the perfect time for me. Just loved rewatching the film, and I'm so glad I got a chance to do that. So I have to highly recommend this one as well. So anyway, thank you so much for watching and or listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.